So my journey started as a child, really. I grew up in a tiny town in West Virginia. We had 2 TV stations out in the country, and one would play videos by World Vision. It was during a time of famine, I believe, in Ethiopia. And as a child that had, we were middle class, I thought we had gone without things, but as a child that had never gone hungry, watching these kids on the screen, it was so shocking to me because I'd never seen anything like that in my life. And that's when seeds were planted of someday I'm going to do something to make a difference for children like this, because nobody should have to live that way. Fast forward to 16 years of age, I went to Bible school, vacation Bible camp over the summer for a week at Kentucky Christian University. And during the week, you had to decide what area of interest you had. And I thought I wanted to go into nursing, and they didn't have anything in that field. They had sports, and I don't even remember. It was a long time ago. But I went to the missions class because my brother was getting into missions at the time. So I said, let me just see what this is about. And by the end of the week, they had us write a letter to ourselves saying kind of what we had learned during the week and what we felt like the Lord was saying to us. And then 6 months later, they mailed it to us. And in my letter, I said I will be a full-time missionary serving children in need, serving orphans around the world. Didn't know exactly when that would happen or where in the world that would happen, but I knew without a shadow of a doubt it would happen. So at 16, that kind of set the course, and I knew my calling. And I feel very fortunate because I know a lot of teenagers aren't sure which direction to go. And so I pray for young people that God would really give them a clear direction, because it definitely helps in making decisions as you grow up. Fast forward, went to high school, didn't have a strong walk with the Lord, kind of had one foot in and one foot out, but had this burning desire to serve Him by serving orphans and children. When I was 18, I saw a video about Romania. I was, I think, a freshman in college, and it was the most shocking thing I'd ever seen. It showed secret footage under communism of how the orphans were treated and what the orphanages were like, which were worse than our animal pounds in America. They would shave the girls' heads, take them out, hose them down, literally like animals. And I told my parents, it hit me so heavily within my heart, and I told my parents, okay, I don't really want to go to college. I want to join the Peace Corps and go rescue children in Romania. And then I got out the atlas to find out where Romania was. So I guess I was a senior in high school at the time. And my parents, thank goodness for wise parents, they said, no, you will go to college before you venture out into the world. And that was obviously good advice. So for 5 years, all during my college career, all I could think about was, I need to get to Romania and I need to rescue children. And I had told the Lord, I don't know how I will feed and educate kids, but I promise I'll love them if you do the rest. And a year after graduation from college, I had the opportunity to step foot into Romania for the first time. It was a long journey to get there, a number of events that had to line up, and my first trip out, I flew into Germany and met up with some American missionaries that had lived in Romania. I had never met them. We communicated by phone and through letters, and I told them who I was, and I said, can I come live with you? And they were generous enough to open their home. So we met in Germany. We were supposed to stay in Germany for 2 days and drive across 4 different countries to get to Romania, and we ended up being in Germany for over a month, living in a gutted out church that was being renovated. And every day I would be like, when will I ever get there? I just need to be in Romania. But over time, everything came together, and we drove across Europe and finally made it to the border. And that whole adventure was a whole other story. So when we get to the border, I jump out of the car, and the sun is setting, and it's beautiful, and my dream is coming true, and I snap a picture, and a border guard comes up and snatches the camera out of my hand. And that was my welcome to Romania. I was in shock. I was still young, naive, very excited. They say ignorance is bliss. Finally, the guy gave me my camera back, and we made our way into the city of Arad in Romania. And yeah, I was anxious to jump into the orphanages and get started, but you know, you go through a lot of learning and things aren't handed to you on a silver platter. So we started by rescuing refugees that had fled during the former Yugoslavian war. The war was going on at the time, so these 18 and 19-year-old boys were living in the park with no food and no money. We ended up taking them into our home and caring for them and doing mission outreaches. And even though they were Muslim, they would go on outreaches with us and hand out Christian tracts, and they got to learn about the love of Jesus and the love of God as they lived in our home. And we're still in touch to this day. I call them my Bosnian brothers. And at one point we had to smuggle them into Germany, so we had to drive across 4 borders with them. Yeah, well, okay, that's a whole other story as well. So through time, I started volunteering in a state-run orphanage, and it was horrific. There were 22 kids per quadrant in the orphanage, and basically they would send me into a quadrant with 22 kids. I didn't speak the language. The nurses, there were 2 caretakers, and they would come in to change the babies and feed the babies on a schedule. It didn't matter if the bottles fell out of the babies' mouths and the babies went hungry. They only got cared for on schedule. And there were children literally that stopped growing because of failure to thrive, because they weren't touched, they weren't loved. So I started going and holding babies, giving babies baths, just offering them love. But emotionally it was very hard to handle, because in the evening I would go home and have good food and have a nice bed, and those babies would be stuck there. So that's when I had the idea of opening the treasure house and creating a home where they could come, where they could receive love and care and nutrition and everything they needed, so that they had a chance to have a real life and not just be a number in a state-run orphanage. So that's where the journey of the treasure house began. International Treasure House, the verse that the Lord gave me actually on one of my trips to Romania was Proverbs 24:3-4. And it says, "By wisdom your house is built, with understanding it's established, and with knowledge its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures." And of course, our children are our treasures. So I think from the time I got that verse to the time we were able to open the first treasure house, probably 2 years had passed. But that has been obviously our life verse for International Treasure House Ministries. The way I moved from Romania to Kenya is I served in Romania for 8 years. It was hard, it was wonderful, it was all of those things that when you step out on faith you experience. We saw miracles, and I amazingly still have a relationship with a lot of those children who are now adults, getting married, having babies. So in my heart, they're my kids, but I'm so happy that they've branched out and they're living their lives now. I went back to the States in 2002 in February, and I thought that was great. I'm done with mission work. I'm in America now, I'm with my family. And that 4th of July, we went to West Texas. My brother-in-law has a ranch out there. And the terrain is very much like Kajiado County in Kenya. And I had taken a nap one day. I woke up and I'm just laying there. It's quiet, you know, that kind of place between sleep and awake. And I see this tree outside that looks like an acacia tree. And I felt like the Lord said, "You're going to go to Africa." And I was angry. I'm like, how can you tell me I'm going to Africa when I just got home from Romania? Well, he didn't mean tomorrow. So time went by, and after 3 years, the opportunity came. After I was in church one evening, we were in praise and worship, and I felt like the Lord dropped in my heart Africa, as clear as he had dropped Romania in my heart. Now me, I'm not a decisive person when it comes to the small things. But apparently when it's the big things, God lets me know this is the direction you're going to take. So I had heard an interview with a lady from Texas that had started a children's home in Kenya. So I thought, let me check that out, because I don't even know where I'm going, when I'm going. So when I was in church and he told me Africa, I'm like, Lord, I will go. I'm ready, but I don't know where you want me to go, when, what I'm going to do, etc., etc. And then I recalled a radio interview I had heard with a Christian lady that had started an orphanage in Africa. So I contacted her. Long story short, I came the first time for a few weeks. It really captivated my heart. Went back to the States, came back a second time for 6 months to see if I could actually live here. And during that 6 months, just learned more about the country, made some friends, made some contacts, saw the need, realized I could be in America helping 2 kids, or I could be in Kenya helping multitudes. So that's really my journey that got me to Kenya. I packed up everything and moved here in 2006 full-time and started paying scholarships for kids, realizing that a lot of kids weren't going to school simply because they didn't have the school fees, because school is not free. So that's kind of how ITHM got our foot in the door here, was by providing scholarships, helping orphanages, meeting other organizations that were doing the work that needed help. Started partnering with them. And then I met my husband in 2007. We married in 2009. He came all the way from South Africa. I came all the way from America, and we met at church here. And another true godsend, because I had done the work by myself for many years. And it's a lot of work, and it's hard work. So to have a partner that we work together so beautifully is really a gift from the Lord. 2018, we decided to start the Treasure House because of many circumstances and many issues. We'd been taken advantage of a few times, and we wanted to see things run with excellence. So we knew the way to run things with excellence and with accountability was to run it ourselves. And since 2018, when we first opened our doors, we've rescued over 105 children. Many of them have been reintegrated with families, some have been adopted, and we are so grateful to have this little oasis where children in need can come and find healing, find their footing, and grow, and eventually reach their potential. In 2018, we bought 2 acres here. And there was one house next door that we started renting to take the kids, because we didn't know when we were going to be able to build our own facility. We started farming. We initially were going to take 20 kids maximum, because we thought that was a good number, why not? And it's been over 105 now that we've taken since 2018. We then built the Dream Center. We bought animals, we built an office, we built a playground. So we just keep continuing to grow. Sometimes we hold on white-knuckled because the growth has been fast. But the reason being is because there's a need and we want to fill it. And we have amazing people standing with us that are helping fill the need. With so many children that need rescued, we want to do the maximum that we can. And I have a quote that I love that was written by another missionary, John Wesley. It says, "Do all the good you can, in all the ways you can, to all the souls you can, in every place you can, at all the times you can, with all the zeal you can, as long as you ever can." I love that quote, and it's kind of a driving factor behind what we do. And we see life as being very short, very quick, and we want to do the maximum amount of good as we can, because we know that every life that is changed here at the Treasure House will therefore change their children's lives, their grandchildren's lives, so on and so forth. So it's really a ripple effect that's going to go far and wide. We now have our own treasure house being built. It's big, it's amazing, it's going to be such a place of joy and refuge. And we have kids that have graduated that are out running their own businesses. We have bought 3 sewing machines that we've sent home with girls that have been reintegrated, and they're working within their villages, making their own money, raising their babies. These are great successes. We have a young man that graduated from trade school. He comes back and fixes things for us at the Treasure House. 2 other guys that graduated from trade school that are out there working. And there's so many of these children that are now standing successfully. We've seen so many baptisms of our kids making decisions to follow the Lord. And they're such an example of faith because they've been through such trauma, and yet they have such hope and such faith and such peace, knowing that they have a Father that will never leave them or abandon them, that truly loves them. We have exciting things in plan for the future. We're in the process of buying another acre of land, which is a total miracle of the Lord, and we want to start a community center. We have a lot of young people in our area that are getting on drugs and alcohol because there's absolutely nothing to do in this area. We're in a village where there's simply nothing to do. They have to go 20 minutes to the local town, even to go to a grocery store. And we want to empower our community, because if we empower our community, then babies won't be beaten, babies won't be abandoned, because you're going to increase the education, increase awareness, and help the community to start working together, looking out for each other, helping one another, being able to make a living because they're learning at a trade at the ITHM trade school that we have in plan for the future, learning the gospel, which is the root of all change because it changes the heart, having an activity center where the youth can come and hang out and play pool, play darts, have a safe area where they're going to be exposed to the love of God, truth, training, life skills training. So it's an exciting adventure that we've been on, an exciting adventure that we have lying ahead, and we invite all of you to be a part of it and take part of it and invest in the lives of so many beautiful children. Over the last few years, we've been able to make convictions of perpetrators of our girls, which we're so grateful for because it's oftentimes hard to find justice for our children. We have cases where girls have been rescued from marriage, teenagers, and the local chief of that village will not cooperate in getting the perpetrators arrested. So we deal with a lot of frustrations, and we celebrate the victories when we do have people go to jail for what they've done to our kids. The girl child, unfortunately, in Kenya is not looked highly upon. If there's money for education, usually it's the boys will go to school first over the girl. And in some of the communities, the girl child is a commodity where they're sold for goats and cows and livestock in order to enrich the family. So there's such a need of education deep within the bush of these communities that are kind of remote, to let them know this is not okay, to let them know that FGM, female genital mutilation, is not okay, but it's still happening. So when we're able to make a conviction of someone from a village, it sets the precedent for the others of the village that they are being watched and that they need to change their ways. One verse that we love is Psalm 68, verse 5 and 6. It says, God is a father to the fatherless, a defender of widows is God in his holy dwelling. He sets the lonely in families. And that's our prayer. We pray every week, Lord, pick the children that are out there that are crying out for help, pluck them out of their situation and bring them to us. And as I said, over the last 2 weeks, we've received 4 girls, and we have a 10-year-old coming to us on Monday. So again, the need for more space, more beds is there, and we're willing to do the work. And we're so grateful over and over again. We want to express our gratitude to our donors, to those who come and visit us, to those who brought supplies, brought shoes and clothing and medical supplies to our kids, for those who support our outreach program of providing pads to the local schools so girls don't have to miss school due to their periods. Really, we're here because we have a great big team around us, and we need to grow our team, our team of donors. We really need people to come on board as monthly donors so that we can continue to do this awesome work with our awesome team to rescue these amazing treasures. Thank you.